transmits it over to here. This one receives it. And
the one over on Gregory?
Yeah.
The signage, are you thinking some more signage, or?
Well, like I say, I was coming along, like I say, speed limit, are you going to maybe slow the cars down as far as coming that way for the trucks?
Yeah.
They don't have much to do.
We'll call the meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency to order. I've been asked to chair this meeting today. Our beloved president has an equipment malfunction, and so today Brian Turner will be sitting in his place on the board. I'll call for approval of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second it.
First and seconded, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report out on closed session.
The board did meet in closed session to confer with its real property negotiator and to confer with legal counsel under the closed session agenda item 1, conferring with real property negotiator, the Rogers 2007 Trust and Rogers Successor Trust and Albert and Judy Rogers, as well as the Mikito Kubo properties were all taken off the closed session agenda. The board the board authorized entering into a stipulated judgment with regard to the ELA Investment Partners property, and no action was taken with regard to Crown Castle. Under agenda item 2, no action was taken, and under agenda item 3, the board did authorize a settlement in the Saines case and authorized an increased offer in the South River LLC case. No action was taken with regard to the McDonald or Culberth cases.
Thank you. Public comment on matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to come before the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the January 21-16 minutes.
I would move approval.
I'll second it.
First and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Review of monthly and year-to-date revenue expenses.
Morning.
Mr. Zillow.
The mic isn't working today, so I'll do this as loud as I can. This report is for December 2015. For the month, the agency started with a cash position of approximately $11.3 million. Expenditures for the month total $550,000. Most of those expenditures were in the Southport project and related to land acquisition as we're wrapping up design. We received no appreciable revenue for the month, so this ending position for the month of December was $10.7 million. This week, we received, or last week rather, we received our first installment of the 2015-16 flood assessment in the amount of $2.2 million, which is about a 5% growth over last year's first installment. We're expecting $8.2 million state true-up payment that is part of the design funding agreement closeout and a true-up for the construction funding agreement. That should come sometime this month, towards the end of the month, which will improve our balance appreciably. Staff has also been working with a local bank to work out a line of credit and terms on a line of credit. The bank has asked for some various scenarios to stress test our situation, worst case scenarios, and we've been providing that information so we can price out the terms and the length of time that we'll expect that we'll need the credit. We sent that in this week, and we expect to have something more to report on the line of credit with the next board meeting. That ends the report for December 2015.
Okay, any questions?
I just have one. On the true-up, the 8-point-something million that's coming in later on what properties is that?
Properties,
Or, what's that on?
that's for, it's not real estate, it's related to design and construction.
Design and construction then?
Real
Okay,
estate, for the Southport project and unfortunately for the North Area projects.
right,
Is still being processed by the state.
Okay.
It's on a separate track.
okay. Thank you.
Mark, when you do come back with information on the possible line of credit, could we have you guys look and update that cash flow that was put together several months back on the project?
Say that again.
Well, 2 or 3 months ago, you had a layout showing the kind of the cash flow of our project. And it showed where we may have some deficits and the need for the line of credit. I'd like to see that, reviewed again and updated, and whether there's any other funds that would be coming in, just another review of it.
You bet.
So, okay.
Brian?
Thank you very much. No consent items this month, so we'll move to the regular agenda. Number 6, a public hearing and consideration of Resolution 16-2-1, authorizing eminent domain action to acquire real property for the Sacramento River Implementation Project, Yolo County Assessors Parcel 046 040 008.
I guess I have to, oh, I do have a mic. Okay. Good morning, President Denton, members of the board. I'm here to present for you 2 resolutions of necessity for the Sacramento Southport Early Implementation Project. I will discuss the goals for the Southport project, a brief overview of some of the decisions made to advance the project to its current design, and then I will present information on the required findings for a resolution of necessity. I'm also happy to report that there's probably only going to be few more of these for the project. We're making a lot of progress in advancing some of these acquisitions. Okay, so as I've stated up here before, first and foremost, the Southport EIP project is a public safety project. Our overarching goal is to provide 200-year flood protection to the city and its residents, at the same time causing the least amount of harm to private property. Our objective is to design and construct, when it comes to Southport, a project to achieve 200-year flood protection that maximizes the use of local resources. So to get here, we had a preliminary identification report that was completed in 2008. Alternative analysis was completed as a companion document to that the following year. And Southport was selected in 2010 to be one of the high priority projects given its deficiencies. Preliminary design report was completed in 2011, which analyzed deficiencies and solutions to address those deficiencies. So in terms of our project history, since the preliminary design report, the levee design has advanced from 15% to 65% and now at 100% being reviewed. Village Parkway design, as you know, is complete. We are under construction. The favorable weather has allowed rock to be being let down right now, so that construction schedule is proceeding and advancing probably quicker than we thought. So we anticipate that the bid for the levee construction project will be released in the next 60 days, hopefully with an award sometime within 60 days after that. So prior to the preliminary design report, staff presented the design decision hierarchy for the WSAFCA board to help deliberate on solutions to address these known deficiencies. Not only identify the deficiencies and their causes, but to test solutions and assemble solutions to minimize impacts, maximize benefits. This resulted in 3 different combined measure alternatives. One included an adjacent levee with berms and adjacent levee with a cutoff wall. A second alternative was presented to you with adjacent levee with cutoff walls, setback levee with cutoff walls, and it included a partial levee degrade. And another combined measure alternative included fix-in-place with seepage, fix-in-place solutions with seepage berms, fix-in-place levee with berms, and with a cutoff wall. Ultimately, the team presented 2 guiding principles to selecting the preferred design alternative. Develop a project that provides the greatest amount of protection to the city as soon as possible, and to minimize the effects on the community while achieving the first objective. These combined measures of adjacent levee with seepage berms, setback levee, and seepage berms with fix-in-place with seepage berm designs were assembled to produce 2 design alternatives. Those were both brought to 15% complete. At the WSAFCA meeting in January 2013, the project team presented these 2 design alternatives. Alternative 1 included fix-in-place repairs with conventional cutoff wall in segments A and B in the southern end of the project, combined with a setback levee beginning in segment B through and behind Bees Lake, and adjacent levee with seepage berm through segment F, and an adjacent levee with a cutoff wall in segment G, the northernmost part of the project. Alternative 2 consisted of the same solutions for segments A, C, D, E, and G, but segments B and F solutions set back the levee. At that meeting, the WSAFCA board approved the solutions that were common to both alternatives, and then directed staff to complete value engineering studies for segments F and B, which were completed in May and August of 2012 respectively. Based on the feasibility of the measures evaluated, the impacts to private property, cost effectiveness, and the ability to maximize flood protection for the Southport area and the city, the board directed the project team to integrate the preferred design alternative into the project design for segments B and F. As I've told you before, and as I have to present today, there are 4 findings that are necessary to pass a resolution of necessity. We have to demonstrate that the public interest and the necessity for the proposed project, the project is planned and located in a manner that is most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury, that the property is necessary for the project, and the offer has been made to the owner of record. The public interest of this the proposed project. I think that we've covered this a number of times. It includes a number of solutions that you have deliberated upon. It will provide 200-year flood protection, meeting state and federal standards. It will protect over 50,000 inhabitants, as well as over $4 billion in community assets. And without taking these, making these project improvements, residents and businesses continue to be at risk during a major flood or major storm event. The project is located and planned in a manner that is most compatible with the greatest public good and least private injury. The project will build upon the work that was completed by the Army Corps of Engineers 2 years ago, and cover all of the area from that project to the city's southern border along the Sacramento River. Numerous design alternatives were evaluated and presented for your deliberation, in which you made a decision on a preferred design alternative. The process was both deliberative and considered public safety, the engineering requirements, the loss of private property, borrow needs, and the greatest amount of community good that could be granted using existing resources. The property that we're talking about here is the Barker property. This is located in segment F. It's 4.26 acres. At this location, our construction, our design plans call for a setback levy. You can see the green area is the offset area that is part of the design. And it also will include a small portion of this property for the operations and maintenance corridor. Just compensation was approved by you at the November 11th meeting last year. The written offer was sent to William and Carol Barker in the following month, in the first week of December. A notice was appropriately sent to the Barkers as well as their attorney. They don't appear to be in the audience today, but this is the first resolution for your consideration.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing at this point. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the board on this consideration of resolution? Seeing or hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from anyone?
I don't have any.
I'd move the item.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Resolution passes. Item 7, public hearing and consideration of Resolution 160202, authorizing eminent domain action to acquire real property for the Sacramento River Southport Early Implementation Project, Yolo County Assessor Parcel Number 046-010-052.
Thank you, Tom. Members of the board, this is the second resolution necessity. I'll reiterate the findings necessary for the resolution of necessity. I won't go through all of the background information, and then ask for your consideration of Resolution 160202. So again, these are the findings that are necessary. First, all the public interest and necessity of the proposed project. As we've said before, there's known deficiencies throughout the Southport levee reach, both under seepage and through seepage. We're concerned about those in such a way that we've developed a plan to get 200-year flood protection to protect the residents and businesses within the city limits. And without this project, people will continue to be at risk. The proposed project is planned and located in a manner that will most compatible with the greatest public good and least private injury. It's located along the Sacramento River to address the erosion and other deficiencies that have been found along the reach. Design selection by you and through staff was deliberative and considered public safety, our engineering requirements and constraints, the impacts to private property, the fiscal effects to the community, as well as WSAFCA's ability to provide the greatest benefits using existing resources. The property in question is the Laudenschlager property. It's approximately 7 acres in size and located in segment G. The acquisition area includes a small portion of property already encumbered by existing easements. 1.05 acres is needed for the levee, the operations and maintenance corridor, and the setback levee. 0.05 acres of a temporary construction easement is necessary to reestablish access from the adjacent subdivision to the north of this property. The WSAFCA Board approved the acquisition at the February 2015 board meeting. A complete offer package was organized, assembled, and mailed to Ms. Erishman and Mr. Laudenschlager on March 20th of the same year. Subsequently, that offer package was mailed to an attorney in mid-April of 2015. WSAFCA staff has worked with Mr. Laudenschlager to improve the design plan for the new entrance to the property. The BRI agent has contacted or attempted to contact the Laudenschlager attorney at least twice every month to negotiate a resolution to this acquisition. The attorney had indicated that they were expecting an independent appraisal in November of 2015. BRI was directed to request a counteroffer and a written offer to the written offer. However, no counteroffer has been received as of today's date. That concludes my presentation for Resolution 160202.
Thank you.
I believe that the affected property owners are in the audience today.
Okay. With that, I'll open up the public hearing on Resolution 160202. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the board concerning this resolution? Seeing or hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Any discussions on this matter?
No, not really.
No.
Then I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution 16.0202.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passes. Item 8, WSAFCA project updates. Mr. Fabian.
Good morning, Chair Ramos and members of the board. I'd just like to go over a few of the items in the progress report just to highlight some of the significant things that staff and the team have been working on over the past month. I think for the Southport project, most significantly under real estate, staff received a number of comments from DWR's real estate team on the real estate plan and is working with the team as well as BRI and Mark Thomas, not BRI, excuse me, Mark Thomas, to respond to comments on the plan, and we hope to have resolution of those comments later this month with DWR so we can get that real estate plan approved. As the board is probably aware, we cannot process any of our real estate packets with DWR for reimbursement until we get the real estate plan approved. So that's kind of a critical piece for us in that area. For the design of the project, we're anticipating completion of the 100% plans and specifications later this month, and we anticipate going out to advertise for construction, as Paul had indicated in his presentation, later this month, with award of a contract within 60 days thereafter. Towards closing out or completing the 100% plans and specification is closing out the comments from the last Board of Senior Consultants meeting, and we're working through those latest issues and hope to have those resolved shortly. For Village Parkway improvements, as of January 1, the project was at 47 working days completed. Work currently underway includes drainage culvert installation, rock slope protection, stormwater BMP maintenance, and again, because the weather has been cooperating, the contractor is now placing rock and continuing with roadway and ditch grading. And the work is primarily between Gregory Avenue and Davis Road. On the general evaluation report, the final draft and the final EIS, EIR were released for state and agency review and posting in the Federal Register in mid-January. The review period, the 30-day review period, closes on February 22nd. Following that, the chief's report is scheduled to be executed and transmitted to the Assistant Secretary of the Army and the Office of Management and Budget in April of 2016. Following that, we anticipate our project being included in the WRDA 2016, and as more information becomes available, we'll report out to the board on how that's lining up. On the update to the problem identification report and alternatives analysis, the draft PIR was received mid-January. Comments provided back to the consultant beginning of this month, February 2nd. We've authorized some additional work by Wood Rogers to evaluate the stop log structure. That's part of the barge canal lock features. When that analysis is complete, we'll be able to provide or include this level of protection and/or deficiencies in the problem identification report, and we're expect to complete that PIR in late March. And the draft alternatives analysis is on schedule for delivery to the team for review March 3rd. Public relations, Crocker & Crocker finished designing the winter newsletter. It should start arriving in mailboxes later this month. They've also drafted a Southport Levee project communications plan that is currently under review by staff, and will report out to the board as we finalize that plan, and we'll report our communications efforts in advance of the Southport Levee project construction. And that pretty much are the things that I wanted to highlight. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Any questions, guys?
When do you think the GRR will be completed and moved to us?
So we're on schedule for the chief's report to be complete in April. Notification to the committees that are developing the WRDA transportation infrastructure, and I forget the name of the other committee. Our project has already been provided to them to be included in WRDA. And we'll just have to wait and see how that unfolds to have a better idea of when we expect WRDA to be executed and our project to be authorized. But we do expect it in 2016.
Okay, is there any way we can move the WRDA up?
Well, we do want to make sure that we have a completed chief's report, and that it's passed review by the ASA's office and endorsed, passed Office of Management and Budget review and endorsed, excuse me, and endorsed before WRDA is executed. And so, you know, executed was one thing, receiving federal funding is another. It's not going to happen overnight. By way of example, Natomas was on the WRDA 2014, and it's this year in the president's budget for construction funding. So there can be a couple of years delay between authorization and funding. So
We don't want that.
Very good. I'll just add, there does seem to be momentum starting in Congress for it, and all sides seem to support one this year. But like Greg said, we don't want them to get too fast. If it happens this summer, it'd probably be the ideal time to get it done. So hopefully it'll stay on course, and our project will be there in the end. One question on this PIR and the alternative analysis. Is that something that this board will approve, or is it just a report that comes back to us or to the city, or who?
So we'll report out on the results of it when it's complete, primarily when the PIR and the alternatives analysis and the cost is complete. If you'll recall, this particular item was taken to the city council back in October of 2015 and was awarded under a city contract and paid for by the in lieu fee. And so, but it's necessary for us to, you know, as Paul mentioned in his presentation, the last time that the system was evaluated for the deficiencies and measured against the standards was back in 2008, 2009. Things have changed since then, and so with the, you know, the GRR, you know, estimating the cost for the project at $1.2 billion in 2012 or thereabouts, the urban levee design criteria was established, and so we really need to sort of reset our baseline for 200-year level of flood protection, and that's really what we're doing here, is resetting that and helping to define our costs moving forward. The city also needs to, starting in 2016, this year, either establish that the city has 200-year level of flood protection for the community, or has a plan in place to reach 200-year level of flood protection by 2025. That's known as, you know, making findings of adequate progress. And so this effort that is being undertaken will help support that finding.
And obviously, movement on the GRR would help that
That helps that.
as well.
Doesn't hurt.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
On the PRI, does it go into the Delta?
The problem identification report?
Yeah.
No, it's strictly evaluating, well, yeah, part of the city's in the Delta, and it does evaluate,
Yeah, well,
it will evaluate the 18-plus miles of Deepwater Ship Channel West levee.
all right.
That is, you know, obviously far below extends far below our city limits. So that is part of our levy system and
Okay.
is part of the PIR.
Okay.
Tom,
Yes, Bill?
I don't know whether this is the appropriate time or not, but I'm going to ask a question in reference to the GRR. When we get this back and they have the funding, what is our requirement from that point on?
Requirement in terms of funding, requirement in terms of
and-
participation.
Well, that funding would be participation. So what I'm trying to get at is if we get the GRR and the Army Corps of Engineers or the representatives in Washington establish an amount of money that's going to be spent on that project, what do we have to do? Do we matching funds and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we'll be required to enter into a project partnership, I think that's the term, agreement, a PPA, at least I know that's the acronym. I may have the words off a little bit, with the Corps and which will include the state of California as well. And the typical cost share for a federally led project is 65% of the project borne by the federal government and 35% borne by the locals. Typically, that 35% is split of that 10% local, 25% state. That's not etched in stone, but that's typical. So we would be looking at having to contribute 10% roughly of the total project cost over the 17-year implementation schedule.
Okay. We'd have to have that in the bank, so to speak,
Or demonstrate that we have the ability to
that
raise
we
the
have the
funds.
ability to get it, okay?
Yes.
And I can't hear your answer, but I'm gonna, because my hearing aid just went out again. When you make up your financial statement and the GRR comes in, would you put in there some type of information pertaining to the amount of dollars that we have for reaching that goal of 60 or 85% or whatever it is that we have to come up with?
Yeah, that'll be part of the cash flow.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, but that's all right. I understand what y'all think.
President Denton, that'll be part of the cash flow model that.
Pardon? Wait a minute, wait just a second. I think
Coming on.
let me push it back in here and see if I can find the right spot. Okay,
That will be part of the cash flow model that was requested that we bring, but that Board Member Ramos asked that we bring to the board. So that'll be part of that cash flow analysis.
thank you. That's it.
Okay. Anything else, guys? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.